nuclear expert says tritium in Fukushima wastewater that has been dumped in the Pacific starting on Thursday is very dangerous and causes genetic damage. It gets inside you easily. It exchanges with normal hydrogen. Sometimes it becomes organically covalent bound. It causes genetic damage in tiny conventional doses, calculated using the energy per unit mass, joule to kilogram formula of the International Commission on Radiological Protection employed by the IAEA, said Busby. Well, if the International Atomic Agency already knows that this happens and it's genetic anomalies, genetic damage, why are they approving the dumping of the Fukushima radioactive wastewater? As Fukushima nuclear power plant operator Tokyo Electric Power Company, TEPCO for short, has reportedly begun dumping wastewater from the plant into the Pacific Ocean, physical chemist Dr. Christopher Busby has taken a look at the legitimate concerns of other countries in the region, as well as the arguments being wielded to assuage these fears. The tritium contained in filtered cooling water from the Fukushima nuclear site is very dangerous, renowned nuclear expert Christopher Busby said. It gets inside you easily. It exchanges with normal hydrogen, sometimes becomes organic covalent bound. It causes genetic damage at tiny conventional doses, calculated using the energy per unit mass, joule kilogram formula of the International Commission on Radiological Protection employed by the IAEA, said Busby. As Fukushima nuclear power plant operator TEPCO has reportedly begun dumping wastewater from the plant into the Pacific Ocean, physical chemist Dr. Christopher Busby took a look at the legitimate concerns of other countries in the region, as well as arguments being wielded to assuage the fears. The tritium contained in filtered cooling water from Fukushima nuclear site is very dangerous, he said. It gets inside you, as we said, and exchanges with normal hydrogen, sometimes becoming organically bound. According to Fukushima nuclear power plant operator TEPCO, the released water will be heavily diluted with clean water, leaving it containing only very low concentrations of radioactive material. The dumped water will ostensibly travel through an undersea tunnel about 1 kilometer off the coast until it's about 6.62 miles, until it reaches the Pacific Ocean. Both during the discharge and afterwards, the entire process is reported to be monitored by third parties, including the United Nations Nuclear Watchdog and the International Atomic Energy Agency for years to come. Regulators are wrong. While the Japanese, also the International Atomic Energy Agency, and a long list of self-identified experts collectively say, no problem, the quantities are very small and pose no risk to health, neither to people nor marine life. This is not the case, according to Christopher Busby. Tritium is interesting stuff. It's radioactively extremely weak. It emits a very short-range beta electron and itself then changes into nitrogen. In terms of radioactivity, because the decay electron is so weak, the method that the risk agency used to qualifying radiation effects has classed tritium as almost a non-event in terms of health effects. This is most convenient for the nuclear industry, as it means that the exposure limits for tritium in terms of becquerel per liter are truly enormous when compared with other radioactive waste, the nuclear expert said. The low beta energy of tritium allows the regulators to argue that the release of huge amounts to the sea and rivers is safe, but the regulators are wrong. The system of analysis using the concept of absorbed dose is unscientific, dishonest, and at an origin of a huge historic public health scandal that has caused hundreds of millions of deaths from cancer due to badly regulated release of certain specific contaminants, and this includes tritium, carbon-14, uranium as particles, and certain other substances produced by nuclear processes, Dr. Busby explains. The expert recalled that years ago, the regulator BEIR the committee in the US, led by Professor Carl Morgan, made an unsuccessful attempt to change the limits of tritium, which he was convinced was a serious hazard. he was overruled because he would have made the operation of nuclear power very difficult. The water in the tanks contains about 1,500 becquerel per liter. A becquerel is 1 decay per second. A liter of this water would produce 1,500 clicks on a suitable measuring instrument. Would you drink this water? Even if the IAEA says it's okay, queried the scientist. I wouldn't, that's for sure. Now, while a plethora of experts have been rounded up to say that this stuff has never shown any health effects in places where it's poured into the sea, Busby points out they are wrong. The expert who spent years of research looking at the effects of released radionuclides, including tritium, to the sea, cited his studies in the late 1990s looking at cancer and child leukemia near the Irish Sea. Tritium is measured in surface water. This water is driven inshore to be inhaled by populations living within a kilometer of the sea. The radionuclides concentrated in the coastal sediment, which also is driven ashore. You find the tritium in fish, in shellfish, in blackberries, everywhere near the Irish Sea, near the British Channel. My Irish Sea study looked at small areas of Wales between 1974 and 1990 and found a clear and significant seacoast effect on cancer, particularly childhood cancer, Busby said. Similar studies from 1999 to 2006 showed a close to 30% increase in cancer near the British Channel, where there are also significant quantities of tritium, the expert stated, also citing research by Professor Awedesh Jha, showing that very small amounts of tritium have profound effects on chromosomes and on development of marine invertebrates, such as shellfish. Now, and shrimp and things. Physical chemist Christopher Busby was also an expert witness in a case in South Korea, asked to advise the country's parliament on the health effects of tritium. The Koreans use the Canadian CANDU reactors, which emit huge amounts of tritium. There is a big cancer cluster around these sites, he said. He also recalled being told by a colleague from Germany in 1998 that tritiated water has a much higher freezing point than ordinary water, so when a fog appears as the air temperature drops, the initial fog is a pure tritiated water vapor, the scientist points out. Those people living near the sea, near the east coast of Japan, especially the estuaries, need to watch out. Don't eat anything from the sea or inside a kilometer from the coast. The radiation, you can't even eat anything like berries or something. The radiation risk model that regulates tritium is absolutely and widely incorrect. The experts that say there are no effects in population living near tritium contamination need to look out of the window, Busby warned. And there are valid concerns. A torrent of criticism has accompanied Tokyo's move. Some of the most vehement protests have come from China, which decided to ban imports of goods from Japan's 10 prefectures to prevent radioactive Japanese products from being shipped to China and ensure safety of important products from Chinese consumers from imported production. As per the Chinese General Administration of Customs, Beijing said it would also increase control of seafood products from other areas in Japan and start checking all goods coming in from that country for radioactivity. And it's good to do that. China's foreign minister spokesman Wang Wenbin accused Tokyo of being extremely selfish and irresponsible by pressing ahead with the disposal of the water, adding that the ocean should be treated as common good for humanity, not a sewer for Japan's nuclear contaminated water. And I totally agree with that. South Korean activists have been protesting against Japan's plan to release treated radioactive water from the tsunami-wrecked Fukushima nuclear power plant into the ocean. Opposing Democratic Party leader Lee Jae-myung said they intend to hold the government of South Korea President Yoon Suk-yeol responsible for failing to do its duties. Lee slammed Japan's plan to discharge water from Fukushima plant as an act of terror. Local fishing groups and UN human rights experts have voiced their concerns about the potential threat to the marine environment and public health. However, Tokyo was not to be swayed. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida vowed that the issue of discharging water treated in the Alps Advanced Liquid Process System cannot be postponed, as he addressed reports on the heels of the trilateral US-Japan-South Korea summit at Camp David. The summit came amid a rapid deterioration security situation in Asia, with the Biden administration drumming up allies to contain China, so it's hardly surprising that both Washington and official Seoul have refrained from joining the chorus of voices slamming the Fukushima radioactive wastewater release. The U.S. voiced confidence that the government of Japan had set up a very rigorous process and weighed all the options and the effects. Washington claimed that its ally had been very transparent about the decision of the process. Moscow has urged Tokyo to be more transparent about its actions regarding the release of radioactive water from Fukushima nuclear power plant into the oceans, actions that may pose a radiation threat, Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said in a briefing. Zakharova noted that Japan should have answered the questions sent to it by Russia and China regarding the dumping of the new radioactive water, as well as providing full access to all information of interest and to water sampling. Japan should provide all necessary information to the sides concerned, up to the possibility of taking environmental samples at the dumping site. The company that operated its station was repeatedly found to be inconsistent with the information it provided, the Foreign Ministry spokeswoman said. The Fukushima nuclear disaster occurred March 11, 2011. The plant was heavily damaged following a magnitude 9 earthquake in the Pacific Ocean, which triggered a massive tsunami, and this in turn caused 3 nuclear reactors to melt down. The accident resulted in widespread contamination of local soil and water. The disaster left 22,200 people, victims missing. Years that followed, some 1.33 million cubic meters of contaminated water ended up being accumulated at the plant. Water used to cool the damaged reactors, as well as rainwater and groundwater that seeped into the site. And this is Unbedded Reality. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.